protocol is a lot less scary than that. And as sort of the discussions have been going around over the past 2 days, we've been talking a lot about rewards. And so I've introduced a little bit about the Me protocol, how we connect different reward systems to allow anyone to use an airline mile on a cafe in Milano in the future. So this is what we do, connecting reward systems. But we're doing a lot more than that, actually. We're building an entire rewards layer for travel and actually beyond travel into other sectors. We want to create an actual rewards economy where anything and everything can be rewarded. And I'll tell you a little bit about the initial steps in that journey. But today, just a little bit about a background on us in terms of team, traction, and technology. Paul and I are serial entrepreneurs. This is my co-founder, Paul Oman. He's the genius behind the protocol itself. We both were involved in infrastructure projects. So I built infrastructure connecting intelligence agencies in Europe and Middle East and other places to help them find bad guys. And Paul built the blockchain infrastructure connecting major banks in Africa. And so we both have this sort of connected, disparate data experience. And so what we're doing with the Me protocol is we're connecting disparate, different reward systems through our Me protocol technology. And we've been very successful so far. So there's right now 15 brands that are in the process of already launched rewards with us or are launching. We've been invested in and have the support of big partners like Farfetch, the largest luxury marketplace in the world, the Bank of Georgia for bank rewards, and we have a really nice pipeline for the rest of the year. So in fact, just from existing customers, we have over 2 million of their users that we will work to onboard over the coming period. That's just with the existing partners. The technology itself, I'll tell you a little bit about that since it is very blockchain based. But we're building not just a single piece of technology, but a modularized infrastructure. So everything you need to launch rewards and be successful in this emerging rewards economy. And this is a cross-sector problem. So we're approaching this not from just a travel sector. Travel has a lot of experience with rewards, as we all know. But the issue of closed, very difficult to monetize rewards program is a cross-sector problem. In fact, out of $180 billion of loyalty rewards out there, over 60% of these go unused. And that's a big problem. That's over $1 billion of value left on the table. And so our approach to the market and our approach to the opportunity is how we leverage and how do we activate that $100 billion of value there. And then one of the ways we do that is with open rewards. So these are rewards that can not only be used on that airline or that one brand, but can be used across a multitude of brands. So when people use the rewards, and this is the basis behind open rewards, getting people to use the rewards, they actually are 3 times more likely to stay with the brand. So they don't defect or churn from a business where they're using rewards. So you want to try to get them to use rewards. They can also increase the purchase frequency by up to 2x or even more for people that are actually using the rewards. So you're generating more incremental revenue when you're issuing a successful rewards program. And also the order value, I'm sorry, that didn't render in this slide. They actually, the order value is up to 20% more. So even if you're offering a discount, people are buying more in terms of order value when they're actually using their rewards. And so our innovation in terms of an open rewards program is basically getting rid of coalition rewards programs altogether through our technology. And a coalition rewards program, if you don't know what that is, that's like a multi-vendor program, like a Miles and More, or like an airline miles coalition or otherwise. And these types of programs that try to let you spend rewards across different businesses are quite complex. They're very expensive, between $5 and $50 million to stand up one of these rewards programs. You have to do very complex systems integration. You have to negotiate at the C level or the CEO level across different businesses. It's just very complex. So our system negates the need for a coalition. You plug in through APIs or SDKs, and immediately you have all the benefits of a coalition with none of the trade-offs. And this is very important from a differentiation perspective for us. So you don't have to adopt a central currency. You keep your own reward, your own branding, and immediately it's usable across the system. So that's very important for us. Also, when you think about rewards, there is fraud in the reward systems, and so our approach using a blockchain and a trustless system also lends trust to the system itself. It's more secure, more traceable, and transparent. And so if you look at our vision to create a rewards economy, we need to have a very trustless system that anyone can plug into, and immediately they have the confidence that the system is working for them, where everyone has the same agency. And so specific to travel, what we're seeing in our play in travel is this concept of customer first rewards. And I think we were mentioning yesterday in the presentation, there's the retention value of like airline miles programs, for example, has gone down quite dramatically over the years. People just are not finding use. There's accrual of points or miles on the systems, and people are just not finding that very valuable over time. So after several years of earning rewards, you find that you can't actually get any benefit from that. And so we're trying to get companies in the travel space to rebrand and relaunch rewards programs with the same infrastructure that they have, but different branding that's customer first. That any reward that you're given from a company can immediately be usable on a product or service across the system. And so that's customer first rewards, and we think this is an inevitability within the travel sector. To make that happen, so how do we get people to use the rewards? How do we encourage them to use them more frequently? We've had to build another layer of our infrastructure, and that's the Me Marketplace. I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. But the Me Marketplace is a clearinghouse of offers from businesses, so you always can find a product or service that you can use your rewards with. And in terms of our targets over the next year, I mentioned some of our initial traction. Our goal by the end of next year is to have over 100 brands connected through our marketplace, over 1,000 products in the system, and over 2.5 million users in the system. So that's an ambitious but achievable objective based upon our pipeline. And if you get an idea of like what does that work like in practice, this is like the marketplace. And so if you've been given a reward from a business, you can immediately see all the brands and the products that you can use your rewards from across the entire ecosystem, so not just in travel. And when you see a product that you want, if you don't have enough rewards from that business, you can select rewards from any business that you have rewards with and do a direct redemption. So you don't have to exchange out rewards. You don't have to exchange into a central reward. You don't have to buy the reward of another business. Your reward is like a universal reward. You immediately can use it on directly redeem for that product. Okay, so that's another innovation. So we don't have to do any of this intermediary swapping. It's all direct redemption. And so building this rewards economy, what's our kind of approach for that? So we've already solved cross-brand redemption through the Me protocol and also our marketplace. So any business can connect through an API, and immediately their customers can redeem this across businesses. The next step, which we're launching here in 2 months' time, is the second version of our SDK. If you don't know what an SDK is, it's like a tool that you can install on your own properties, like your own websites or booking sites. And what that tool is allowing you to do is access all the services that we use in our marketplace, but directly on your booking site. And so when someone comes to get the offer for your rewards on your own booking site, they can immediately, like a stripe pop out, use rewards from any of the businesses they have directly on their site. Everything, including managed wallets and everything like that we use for our marketplace, can be directly used on the consumer, on that business's side. So that's a major innovation that we're rolling out. So it's not only cross-brand redemption, it's cross-platform redemption. You can start using these rewards on different properties as though it was the same business. And so that's a major innovation for us. In terms of our revenue model, it's a SaaS or an X as a service. So the SDK is more like a SDK as a service or infrastructure platform, however you want to consider that, where we charge by transaction and service, kind of like a licensing model. The marketplace is a SaaS model, so you pay a subscription, so as little as $300 per month to $2,000 per month, and then we have an enterprise tier. Transactions within the marketplace are $1.5 per transaction at the moment. In our future, in terms of monetization, we're collecting lots of really unique data. And so people sometimes ask, like, what's the AI strategy for your company? I tell them we don't have an AI strategy. We have a data strategy. Because AI is changing so fast, it's about the data that you have and being able to collect that from the beginning. So we specifically architected around consumer profiling data from the beginning. In terms of the tech, in the very middle of the Me protocol itself, so this is modular infrastructure, is an automated market maker. So since we're in this Web3, we can talk a little bit about the technicalities of that. So we use a market making approach. We have a new algorithm, a new market rule that allows us to broker this direct redemption across brands. So that's like high level bit. We have this broker in the middle that when you connect to, your rewards work like that across brands. But there's no need to understand blockchains. So we rarely talk about the blockchain or the tokenization part with any customer. If anything, it comes out very much later in the discussion. If someone's interested or you're talking to the CTO and they're asking like, okay, how does it work in practice? Then we do it. It's much like selling like AI services as well. You don't talk about the LLM or something like that. The businesses have no idea how that actually works. They just want to see what it actually does for their business. So we take the same approach for blockchain. Happy to go into more details on that. In terms of the competitive landscape, we work at competitive landscape across sectors, so not just in travel. We look at it across sectors, and you see it's quite fragmented. The traditional loyalty management sector is about anywhere between $5.6 and $17.8 billion sector. And they're providing software for businesses that help them manage loyalty or reward services. They don't have anything like what we're presenting right now, so we're looking at them as potential partnerships to the future to be able to cross-sell their existing client base. Then you have like kind of synonymous groups. Since you guys understand loyalty coalitions, it's kind of easier for you to understand, but there's in other sectors you have, for example, Payback in the DACH region, which was acquired by Amex maybe like 12 years ago for $500 million, bought from the data value of the company. Or you have like Nectar in the UK, which is owned by Sainsbury's. So once again, gathering consumer behavior to be able to dynamically price against. And then you have these kind of like new startups that are doing lots of things with NFTs and gimmicky stuff. That just to give you an idea of an overview. So our differentiation there, we're an infrastructure first approach. So if you have an existing rewards program, you don't have to get away with that. You don't have to do away with it. We're sector agnostic. We allow you to have your own rewards. We do liquidity management from a market making perspective, but it's all managed and automated there, so no one has to understand the blockchain components. And we're focused mainly on fungible rewards. So these are like points system. So I mentioned Paul and I, our background. He also founded the blockchain program at the Penn Atlantic University, so he's also a university instructor, or was. Now he doesn't have any time for that. So we have a team across the US, Europe, and Africa. We've been supported by a number of different investors, both from a blockchain background that helped us with the token engineering and things like that, like Outlier Ventures, to more traditional Web2 businesses like the Core Angels Enterprise Tech Fund in Spain that's helping us expand our relationship with banks for bank rewards. And also I mentioned already before a number of brand partnerships that we've already signed and customers that we're already onboarding. So what's the opportunity from an investment perspective? Well, there's two opportunities at the moment. We have both equity and token. I mentioned earlier in the conference, we're launching this token. Should be launched at the end of this month or early October. We're still aligning the IDO schedule, but right around that period. And there's about 800,000 in pre-sale open for that. So you can buy publicly in the public sales, but if you want to get in on a discount in the pre-sales, you need to talk to me very soon. And then from the equity perspective, right around 600,000 to 700,000 is currently open for that. We've taken a high resolution approach to fundraising, so we're just onboarding tickets as we close the investors. So we just closed 100K last week, and we're just continuing this process right now. And importantly, what does that get us? I mentioned the 100 brands. That is our target next year. Well, it's going to at least get us about 70 brands there. I always like to have high targets and you achieve about 70%, just like a normal OKR approach. And we need to build out our sales function right now. I've been doing a lot of heavy lifting on the sales side, as you do as a CEO when you're small, but this is where we really need to grow inside. Our development team is already very good and very established. Yeah, so thanks so much for your attention, and welcome any of your questions.
Yeah, we will take one question. What? Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. We will take one question from the non-jury, and then the jury, and then we have maybe one or two left. So who was first?
Thanks very much for that. That was great. Treat me like a complete idiot, which is not hard. I don't collect reward points, never have, so treat me like an idiot here. Talk through the economics. If I did have a bunch of reward points for my airline and I went to a cafe and I bought some coffee with the reward points, just talk me through the financial movement of how that cafe gets paid and where the money's coming from.
Yeah, okay. So 2 minutes of the economics of this system is probably not going to happen, but I could, as like a sort of a real big overview. Sorry?
A bit closer with the mic, please.
Sorry.
Thanks.
How is this, everyone? So, I mean, like the full economics, it's going to take more than a brief answer for that. But basically what happens is the market making approach, so how we broker these transactions, is designed to incentivize a transfer of value throughout the whole system. So as soon as a customer leaves to go to another brand or uses their rewards, they're not leaving, but uses their rewards to go to another brand, there's a transfer of value from the first brand to the next brand for that. And so that's like a payment, kind of, from them, but it's not really a payment, because as soon as their customer themselves wants to go in the other direction, then the value is transferred in the other direction. So we enable this cross-brand redemption, but at a very cost-effective process. So it encourages good acting. So if you have attractive offers, it's very cheap for you to participate. If you have crap offers, if you're only selling brown, for example, then you will show up in the analytics in the site. So there's something wrong with your pricing or the value of your offer there. And so the system's nice because we can interfere in the market. So we can change the pricing, we can change the value of the rewards to optimize the flow of customers from one to the other. And if you remember, rewards, even though you don't use them, have traditionally been about customer retention, and mainly customer retention only. And from the initial slides, we see that you want to get people using their rewards because they buy more from you and more frequently when they do. So it's an incentivization. It's incentivizing for the first brand to allow this process of their customer redeeming for another brand's reward. And in the same process, what we can do in our system is we can actually acquire new customers. So customer retention in itself is important because it's much cheaper to retain a customer than it is to acquire a new customer. In our system, you can acquire new customers for right around the same cost as a retention. So that's a big value for customers. And when you talk to brands themselves, they're desperate for new customers. And so getting paid for a customer coming across is not what they're interested in. They're offering a discount not based because it's economically unaffordable, but they're doing the discount based upon a lifetime value calculation. So once they capture the customer, they want to continue to sell to that customer. So even if they offer a discount that eats their margins from a lifetime value perspective, they're gaining more.
Thanks. Let's take a couple of other questions. Well, maybe the judges first. Mike. Christina?
Yeah, I just have maybe one or two questions. First one is, maybe I missed it. What stage are you currently?
It's launched.
I'm sorry?
Everything's launched.
Series A?
We're just finishing seed.
Seed, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. awesome for C. What learnings have you had in terms of like brand adoption? What any barriers, anything that you guys have to overcome
Yeah.
in order for the brands to adopt? Because it seems like based on what you socialize it's an augmentation of their existing program. It's not like a replacement of it. So I'm trying to understand if there's any risk factors.
Sure. So we discovered a lot. I mean, of course, we're learning a lot from the initial set of brands. So we launched the marketplace in a soft launch this summer. So the first cohort of businesses, we launched them. We didn't really advertise this around because we knew we were going to learn a lot from the process. And we learned two things. So one is we needed to build integration apps. So like in the e-commerce space, in particular, we built an app for WooCommerce, which is like some really tiny brands use that. Also Shopify, 1.7 million stores on Shopify, so we have an integration app for that. And it takes some time to build these apps. What it means is you can one-click and integrate with us if you have an e-commerce site with Shopify. And so from like a sign-up friction or like an onboarding time frame perspective, our objective is to condense that down as soon as possible. The next thing we learned was that especially brands that are not re-stores from a marketing perspective, we had to design essentially like a marketing campaign for them, like a campaign in a box for announcing the rewards program, because you do have to do some marketing. So you may have 10,000 people in your CRM, but they're not all registered for the system. And once they're registered for the system, we can start marketing them. But until that happens, we need to get them in. And so we set goals of like 1% of your CRM signing up, and then 2, and then 5, and then moving up from there. So those are two main learnings that we've worked on. Yeah.
10 second, one more question.
Yeah.
Can you give us like a 3 to potentially 5-year revenue projection that you're looking at?
Yeah. So our goal for within the 5 years is 200 million.
Is that the gross marketing value or your internal value?
Not
Volume.
Yeah, internal revenue. That's gross revenue. Yeah.
All right, a quick one. You mentioned that the loyalty program normally are very centralized and very closed source. So do you have full access? I mean, they for sure don't encourage the transfer of their value to other platforms, whatever. So I think that's the main technical issue. So do you have full access to this? Do you have a plan to overcome and have full transferability?
Say that one more time. The first
So,
part.
like, you want to integrate different loyalty program. So, do they fully allow you to extract like the point from one program to bring in another? Because I mean, you cannot replicate it, right? If you have point in one program and you transfer in another program, or you spend, you have somehow to get access to this.
Okay, so what happens is we provide them with an API,
Right.
or an integration app, depending if we've integrated with that technology or not. And they're pushing data to us. And we don't need a lot of data from them. We need to know that, this person from this identification, this email address, gets 100 miles or something like
Right.
that. And we replicate that on our system. It's a tokenized version on our system. But the brands themselves, they don't accept rewards from other brands.
Right.
They only accept their own rewards. So they have total control of their own rewards and what their rewards can be redeemed on for themselves. And so what's actually transferred in the middle is our own token, which is the Me token. And this is the unit of value in the system. And so that's transferred from liquidity pool to liquidity pool. And so they don't know that this is what's happening. All they see is that someone redeemed 100 of their miles on this product like they normally would.
Okay.
They don't know that they know that it's coming from another business
Okay.
or another brand, and we show them analytics on that so they can profile that customer who they're coming in for. But they're not giving rewards to another business or anything.
Okay.
Like that.
So basically, you're also gonna act as a trust layer between all the loyalty.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a trustless system.
It's a trust. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Thanks.
We have maximum one short question. Something from the judges.
Can I ask a question? Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. You didn't show the DeFi aspect, which is actually very interesting. So maybe a couple of words on it, like the liquidity pools and everything. Yeah.
How many of you know what an AMM is, an automated market maker?
Like Uniswap and stuff.
Like Uniswap or...
Yeah.
Okay, so it's mixed here. So essentially, market makers are generally designed for currencies. It's for currency transactions. And they have a specific, what's called a market rule. So this governs the transactions, how it's functioning. And normally you have two buckets. So you have one asset in one, say dollars, and then you have euros in the other. And the ratio between the dollars and the euros is the exchange rate. And so in a normal market making rule or an algorithm, it's like a constant product algorithm. So the values there are changing. And this doesn't work for rewards. So let's say I'm this hotel, and I give you a reward for staying here. And I say, tomorrow you can come and get a free coffee for 10 of these rewards. In a normal market maker, that value might change, just like a currency might change or in terms of exchange rate or whatever. So tomorrow you might not be able to come in and get that free coffee that I told you about. It might cost you 10 or double or triple the amount of rewards. So that doesn't work from an economic perspective. That's not viable. That's not practical for the business. So we developed an algorithm called the dual value rule, and it's unique to us. It's the only algorithm that works like this, and so there's two values for each reward, and it would take some time to discuss the math behind that. But what it means is that you always have control. This hotel always has control, and I can say, here's some rewards. Tomorrow you can get a coffee for that, and the next day you can get the coffee for the same rewards, et cetera, et cetera. But your customers can still access the market or access the cross-brand redemption. That's what it does. And so there are liquidity pools. In the protocol, there's integrated treasuries, there are integrated bounty pools. So it's a very sophisticated protocol. It's not just liquidity pools. No.
I know. Just a yes or no.
Yeah.
Do you have an IP?
Sorry?
Do you guys have IPs?
IP,
Intellectual property, patents?
we don't have any patents, no. So everything is a corporate secret, or otherwise we're open sourcing. Yeah. Yeah. So the protocol itself will be open sourced. And we're already working on version 2 of it, so the first one's already launched. Sorry? Parts of it. So we will still keep proprietary a lot of the services surrounding it, because we're going to monetize this a lot. So the SDK is ours. It's the property of the company itself. The marketplace.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
It's been very interesting. Thanks a lot, Gib.